He's trying to bring out the fabulous. Cause I give a fuck way too much. I'ma need like 2 shots in my cup. Wanna get up, wanna get down.
One question. Which way you and I was walking? Now I run a game, got the whole world talking. King Kunta, everybody wanna cut the legs off him. Kunta, black man taking no loss. Oh yeah. Which way you and I was walking? Now I run a game, got the whole world talking. King Kunta, everybody wanna cut the legs off him. Well, you got the yams. The yam is the power that be. Smell it when I'm walking down the street.
I'm tired of being what you want me to be, feeling so faithless, lost under the surface.
must stop the terror. Now watch this cry.
What if there was a way to know if a stock would
Where are you now? Hey, it's been too long ago, my love. Where did we go wrong? Too late to turn around. Where are you now? Where are you now? Hey, it's been too long. Josie's on a vacation far away. Come around and talk it over. So many things that I wanna say. You know I like my girls a little bit older. I just wanna use your love tonight. I don't wanna lose your love tonight. So I'm just trying to hold on.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Bitcoin Maximalist, that's a cool name. You know, one of the things I really underestimated when I started doing all this, hey guys, welcome in, is your name. Is like picking a name that works, is not already taken on YouTube, on Twitter, on, you know, everything. It's actually very annoying. Guys, what's up, Drips? Jesus, Tex, Ollie. Ollie said I was just looking up your channel. Boom, you're going live. Well, that's nice. Let's look at dominance today. Absolutely. Let's hope it keeps going up. Yeah, Max. 100%, dude. All right, so I'm going to pause the music really quick just to make a couple announcements here. Quick reminder. First off, thank you guys for coming in. We got a lot to go over. Bitcoin over 30,000. Let's go, right? How long have we been talking about that? Bitcoin was at 27,000, 28,000. I swear for 3 to 4 weeks, it was like me going on these these Twitter spaces and saying like, no, look, Vice is still up. Here's why the technicals support that. And like trying to build my case. And so many people were just blowing me off. No, silly Jack. No, that's not it. MVRVZ was bang on. Yeah, there's a number of stuff. Max, what's up? Low to high, what's up, man? There's another cryptojack and he's a whack. I actually, yeah, dude, like I'm really well connected with everyone who streams crypto stuff. And nobody knows who that guy is. It's just so we're clear. Anyway, before I get too much further, guys, we got to give big love to the sponsor, Coin Vigilante. I really appreciate anybody who sends me messages, much like what these guys did, where they said, "Hey, look, we want to work with you. Let's figure it out. How can we do that?" So first things first. I want to just show you some of their cool watches and stuff, just right off the cuff. Again, I do have a referral link. I'm wearing this watch right now just because it seemed like that kind of day to wear a Bitcoin watch. But the ref link does not give me any money, right? So this is not a way to where I'm feeding you something so that I get something out of it. I'm just trying to support these guys. They want to support me. I want to support them. So it's coinvigilante.com/ well, here, like I'll put it in the chat. There you go. If you guys are interested in a cool watch, then please use that. If you use the code cryptojack, then you get 15% off as well. Okay, got that out of the way. Yeah, let's talk about some stuff. So here's what we're going to go over on today's stream. We're going to go over the Bitcoin over 30,000, but what does that mean? Like, are we going to 31,000? Are we going to 32? You know, where's the next big level? 30,000 was a huge level, right? I mean, we fell to 16,000 and change. Then we broke 20. 20 breaking was a huge level. We broke 25. We chopped around 25. That was a huge level. Now we've broken 30. So like, where are we headed? So what's really cool, especially to those of you who have not been here before, I have been kind of keeping the trajectory and trying to preach the gospel, preach the good news of, hey, Bitcoin is probably bottomed. And I got all the receipts to prove this stuff. You know, these are all my pinned tweets and all that. And not only are we bottomed, but here's our first two key levels, 24,000, and the next one is 33. But then what? So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Along the way, we had a really nice Wyckoff Re-Accumulation. You've probably seen me tweet about that because I just think it's so cool when these things actually play out, these charts work out. And then we got a few other things to go over. So anyway, stick around. It's going to be fun. Thank y'all for being here. Stick to the plan. Absolutely, dude. Do you have a Litecoin one? Yeah. They have a bunch of Litecoin watches. That's what you're asking. They need to make an Ethereum one. Yeah, it's interesting. We're talking about Coin Vigilante. Guys, they were a Kickstarter project. It's a husband and wife team. The wife's pregnant. You know, they got their first on the way. So these are really like good people that I'm just trying to help out. All right. So first things first, I want to talk about this. Oh, by the way, I'm probably going to pause the music periodically because I actually got some DMCA notices for random countries. It would be like the country of Ireland because they plug into YouTube in a different way than Twitch does, I guess. This one segment of this one song has earned you a DMCA mark only in the country of Ireland. So they're blocked from this segment of view. It was like, well, what are we doing here, YouTube? But anyway, that's very silly. But because of that kind of stuff, we're going to talk about, I'm just going to mute it while we talk about the content so that this part is not muted for everybody else. Okay, here we go. Wyckoff Re-Accumulation. I want to have a conversation about taking a trade within the confines of this Wyckoff Re-Accumulation trade range. So this is not something I talk about often, which is like entering a trade on the lower time frame. I'm very kind of open about, hey, big time frame, you need to be positioned, and I leave how you position up to you. But I wanted to have a good little conversation about what's going on and talk about a trade that I actually took. So we've talked about this reaccumulation range probably since somewhere in here. So about like the halfway point. So once that became relatively clear to me, kind of what was happening, and just a quick reminder, within a reaccumulation trade range, you have some consolidation, lots of little tests of the highs, lots of tests of the lows, a couple broken creeks. This is, you know, this like kind of downward sell pressure in the world of Wyckoff is referred to as a creek. So that's what is kind of happening here and then here. And eventually it breaks out, it consolidates, and it marks up. Now, this is, think of this as like a pit stop. This is the market refueling on its way to its eventual, you know, end target. So this is a really exciting pattern to see, and it should give you a lot of confidence in entering a long position, not a short, not anything like that. Now, we've also talked about like, how could this turn into something scary? How could this barrel roll into a really, you know, a distribution or something like that? We've had several streams where we talked about that. Hey, an up the rust, a return to the channel, and then a breakdown. But that's not what we need to be expecting right now. That would just blow up the entire beautiful setup that we have right now. Nonetheless, we like to see kind of, you know, what's out there, what ghosts are in the shadows and lie in wait for us. But back to what's going on right here. Once we've reached this kind of halfway point, which occurred for me during this first creek jump. So once we broke this first creek, again, imagine there's like a little creek there. Once that occurred, it became very clear to me that I wanted to enter a margin long position, and that's not very easy to do. So what let me back up. I want to be able to enter with two key aspects, two key tenets. One, when I know the likely directional move that's to come. So once I have this trade range in mind, sorry, chat. Once I had this trade range kind of figured out, then I was like, okay, the eventual move is up. So then that's number one. Number two is I want to be able to set stops in such a way where I'm not going to get chopped up by the stops, and I'm also not going to get stop hunted for liquidity. So what I did is I had a lot of margin long position limit orders down in here. And obviously they never got hit. I never got the opportunity to fill these longs, which would be really nice, right? This would mean a move from 26,000 to 30,000 on margin would be amazing, right? But I did not get that opportunity. Maybe other exchanges had it, but I don't think so. I think across the board, pretty much nobody got a chance to long these lower bounds. So what is the next logical place to take a long? Well, it's where I have this circle here. And there's a reason for that. You know, within this schematic, let's blow it up to make it a little bit bigger. Within the schematic, there's this last key thing that takes place. It's referred to kind of collectively as a sign of strength and a LPS, a last point of supply. So within this little boxed in area that I'm about to box in, there's three key things. One is in initially there's the jump across the creek. So right here, sorry, it's because I keep mousing over. Right at the start here, there is the jump across the creek. I'm going to kill somebody. There we go. Where price jumps across the downtrend line. Well, what do we have? We absolutely got that right in here. The next thing, which is where I wanted to enter the position, was during this consolidation right here. If I could draw. Okay, so within that consolidation, so the first thing I looked for on the lower time frame was any sort of consolidation that would give me confidence that we were in a sign of strength. And lo and behold, we got it. And so this circled area is where I was able to enter my first margin position in quite some time. Especially I closed a lot of my positions once we made it up into this range, and for good reason. I'm not here to get chopped out. I want to have a high hit rate, high percentage trade set up. So, thanks to entering at 29,143 and kind of managing this position right now at $30,000. This was about $1,000 entry. This is nothing crazy, but we're up about 70% ish on the move. I have a take profit set for $33,000, and we'll go over that next. Like, why is 33,000 such a key level for me? Why am I even leaving a position open all the way up till that? So let's talk about that for a couple reasons. Also, this is what I tweeted out just as a couple ways to point out to people, like, hey, we're probably leaving this range, consolidating, and moving up. So before I keep going, guys, please be sure to smash the like button. If you got some buddies that follow me on Twitch or whatever, make sure they know we're over here today, because I know typically I'm streaming on Twitch. So I wanted to go back to our targets. All right. So back at the end of 2022, coming into 2023, we had a macro falling wedge. This was over about 8 months time period. This is a big deal. Let's back up in case you're new to this stream, you're not familiar with who I am or what. What I always like to do is try to find the macro technical pattern. Technical referring to what the candles are doing, like what's happening on the charts. So what I try to do is separate myself from as much news as possible. Not always going to happen, right? It's not a perfect program by any means, but a lot of times what you can do is try to figure out, like, okay, what is the market trying to tell you? And not CNN and not Fox News and whatever. It doesn't matter. What are we looking for? So this was the very first step, was identifying what happened. The very next step was being able to have this conversation about, okay, where are we going if this is right? And that's where this chart comes from. So this is dated January 11th of 2023. We have the falling wedge, and I have YouTube videos on this. I'll link that here in a little bit. I had all kinds of content where I was saying, look, if this is accurate, here's where we're headed, and here's why. We have the falling wedge. We have a pivot right at the start of January of 2023. We have a yearly pivot at 24,000, and then basically an extension to that pivot referred to as an R1. But we have the secondary level up here at $33,000. Now, if you're not familiar with why we care about that, well, it's because back in 2019, which was the year before the halving, we did something very similar. We came down, we consolidated at the very start of the year. You can see right at the start of 2019, we consolidated, and it was basically up only until we broke above this R1 and consolidated for some time. Now, later on, we actually retraced back to the pivot. We came all the way back down and tested this level from above. So this is why whatever happens between now and our ultimate peak, and I'll go over this here in just a minute. Maybe our peak is 33,000. Maybe it's as high as 50,000. And there's actually really good structural reasons to look for that. But in any event, I would be very much expecting some sort of retest all the way back down to 24,000. So that should do two things. One, it should encourage you to not just leave margin positions open indefinitely, but number two, it should also keep you from FOMOing in, right? So this is still a great time to dollar cost average in with the next year and the years following in mind. 2024 to 2025 is, in my opinion, when the actual bull run's going to be, and everything that we see between between right now and that time is really just, it's like the lead in, it's the intro to the movie. It actually has nothing to do with the real bull run, again, in my opinion. But let us look at the BLX on this chart, and hopefully this will make a lot of sense to you guys, especially to the new folks. And I'm talking more to the new guys because I know I don't stream on YouTube a lot, so this is probably going to pull a little bit different audience. So let's go over this really quick. So zooming way out, in fact, let me just throw it on the weekly here. Zooming way out, we have this very clear pattern that occurs when you overlay things in a proper way. So let me move things so we can see it. Orange line, number go up. Orange line, number go up. Orange line, number go up. Orange line, we could probably expect number go up. What is that orange line? It is the halving. If you're new to Bitcoin, you may not understand this concept, so let me break it down for you really quickly. Bitcoin has a certain amount of Bitcoin, of supply, that is released into the wild, that comes into the market, that must be bought to maintain the current price. There's a certain number every 10 minutes, or if it's easier to think about this, there's a certain number every day. You could think of it a lot like how many basketball shoes are being produced in the factory every day, how many Pokemon cards, during the hype, how many of those things are produced every day, that kind of thing. So there's a certain supply that enters the market daily, is a good way to think of it. And at these orange lines, that supply is cut in half. So back here, there was 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And then after the line, this is built into the code, this cannot be changed, there was 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, then 12 and a half, then 6 and a quarter, and now we're coming up to the 3.125, 3 and an eighth, I guess, or whatever that is. So very, very, very interesting. Just to kind of keep in mind, like, okay, big picture, what's happening? Now we zoom in. So now you understand, okay, orange line, number go up. Got it. And in fact, I have a lot of smart guys like Dreps is in here and he's like, hey, I love the orange line concept. That's easy. Atani, Dreps, you know Atani, and a bunch of you guys know Atani. He's like, hey, look, I'm not even clicking the buy button until the halving. After the halving, I will click the buy button. So, historically, that's not the worst idea. Doesn't mean he's going to get the bear market bottom, right? But what it does mean is he's going to buy and probably it's going to go up. So he's basically trying to sidestep a lot of the volatility that often comes with things. And even if it goes down, what was that, a couple weeks, right? And then followed by almost a year of up only. So, and you can kind of go back and stress test this, but that's a really good way of looking at things. I don't like that at all. I love that. Yeah, this is Dreps from CSGO. Exactly. So moving on, what I really like about this particular view, pre-halving year, is how price is currently behaving compared to last pre-halving year. Remember, 2020 was the last halving. 2024 will be the next halving, which means 2023 is the pre-halving year, just like 2019 was the pre-halving year. So if I throw on our pivots and I extend it back so we can really check these things out, just like I was saying earlier, we came in, we made our bear market lows coming into 2019, and it was basically up only until we got some consolidation up here at the R1, which was right around $10,000. But look, it got as high as 14,000. I mean, it went 40% or ish, 30 to 40% above the R1. Okay, so let's bring that to today. So here's how things look today. Well, we are less than 10, guys, we're less than 10% away from our target, from the target that we set before we ever even broke out. And I think that is super, super cool, right? So we were talking about this target back during this, because we had identified the falling wedge and we understood like what could come from that, where we go, et cetera, et cetera. So a move up to say $33,000. Remember last time it actually overshot that by like 40%. Well, what's up here at 44% is not only is it last year's pivot. So the pivot is this kind of orange horizontal line. That's why I have it there. But let me turn pivots off entirely. What's really cool about this line is anybody who shorted from this point down has been in really comfy profit ever since 2022, basically the first quarter of 2022. So think of it like that. Everyone who has a short in here has been in profit even up till today. So the only way to blow them out is to retrace to this level. That's why when I turn on the pivots and I look at this, really the thing I had in mind is this level, but it could go as high as this right here. And that's a perfectly valid argument to say, look, I think it could go something like, explosively parabolic, come back, consolidate, and eventually by the end of the year, retrace to the actual pivot level down at 24,000. So I love something like this. I think this makes the most sense to me for a number of reasons. One, it blows up anybody who's been short. But number two, think of the exuberance. Think of everybody who's going to be late margin longing up here, right? Not down here where we are, but all the way up here. Think of how excited people will get. You'll probably see stuff like all-time high next, and just give it one more quarter, one more month, we're going to have a new all-time high, that kind of stuff. But imagine the market gives it all the way back and we suddenly have a roughly a 50% drop from that level. So that's why I really like this for a number of reasons. The psychology involved, the way markets typically behave, the fact that these guys get blown out, and that anybody who went margin long, basically from 25 and above, like it comes all the way back and blows them out before the halving next year. So lots of options of like really crazy, scary things right here. So anyway, let's catch up on chat really quick, and I'll throw some music back on. Again, guys, don't forget to like the stream and share it with your homies, that kind of stuff. Everyone's missing Jack's stream. Well, yeah, absolutely. I opened a 5x Bitcoin long at the breakout. Nice. I did a 20x long because I felt so comfortable with this particular setup. Because I felt so confident with what was going on here. So I'm basically 20x from this. Fed Now will be launched by that time. Yeah, dude. That's crazy, man. All the Fed Now stuff, all the CBDC. That's insane. Ryan Reynolds doppelganger? I don't know about that, homie. I appreciate it. Trying to get my pants or something. All right. One other thing that we do need to go over, because this was every bit as helpful as that kind of more medium time frame analysis, is the bullish megaphone that we've talked about over on Twitch for the last, I don't know, month. But we had a very clear breakout up here at level 5, consolidated above the trend line, and then off we go. I promise you, if I was not the first to talk about this, I was in the top 2 or 3, because nobody looks for bullish megaphones. This is not a thing that people see unless you're really attuned and looking for just chart patterns in general. You didn't see this. So there's a lot of people who showed up after I started putting this out, but it's something else entirely. Like whenever you can just spot this stuff in the moment. So I was very proud to be one of the first folks, like back in one of these first 2 candles, explaining like, hey, this is probably what's happening. Because what a lot of people forget to do is zoom out, like we talked about. Remember the last pre-halving year, we had come into our bear market bottom, and then we had this explosive move. And so that was playing into this analysis as well. Like, hey, look, we came into January of 2023 with the bear market behind us. This is probably going to full send, at least for a little bit. Pretty interesting stuff. You guys and your longs, I gotta move. I never heard about this chart pattern. Yeah, dude, this is a really, really interesting one. It is more times than not a top. Like more times than not, you get something like this. But if you have something in your back pocket, like the halving, like understanding that we just had a brutal bear market 18 months ago, up to present, then suddenly you could say, okay, this is more than likely not going to be the bearish breakdown, but more than likely it's a sort of consolidation before the next move. And then we were able to further justify that, as I hiccup, we were able to further justify that using the reaccumulation trade range, which was what was occurring up here. So it all worked together so beautifully. It was like chef's kiss kind of stuff. Meanwhile, how many people were on crypto Twitter like, oh, this rally is silly, you know, fade the rally, adding to my short here and all that kind of stuff. Oh man, those guys got blown out. Hey Jack, when retest? Ken, I don't think we're gonna get one. I think you know, that time has passed. Like, that is the whole point of this particular pattern. Was, imagine this is consolidated far longer than it really needed to, but as a result, it is likely to now enter markup and continue up. Doesn't mean there can't be like some scammy wicks along the way or what. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying don't expect the big retest, something like that. So any sort of break back into the range should be viewed as weakness. So this is like a mental red light that you're putting in your brain right now. You should tell yourself, okay, look, if we find ourselves below 28,500, we close the day, something like this, all of a sudden this starts setting up for something really, really ugly and where it gives it all back. So we do not want a retest. This is one of those rare instances where a retest could potentially, you know, cause more trouble than it's worth. What makes you think it's coming back down to the 25K-ish range? Great question. Great question. So if we look back at what happened, again, I'm just comparing, because this is all we can really do. I'm comparing where we are today to the last pre-halving year. So if I look back with our pivots, let's examine the last pre-halving year, which was 2019. What we see is bear market bottom coming into the year, essentially up only into June, selling the top, and then coming back down and finding support on the pivot. So this to me is not by accident. Like these are not just things that happen to occur. And at the same time, it's worth me pointing out, these lines are not adjusted in any way. They don't change as price changes. On January 1st of 2019, boom, both of those lines went on the chart. So that's what's so fascinating to me is like the chart opens. Okay, so this is how things looked before that. One day into the year, boom, these lines show up. So immediately, if you understand how pivots worked, which is how we applied them this time around, you can say, oh, nice. Okay, first target, second target. And, you know, it often occurs there. It is often the case that price likes to come back and retest this level. So this is where we get our, okay, target 1, target 2. And by the end of the year, probably at some point, right? Doesn't mean December, but at some point we're going to get a little retest along the way. That could have looked like this, right? And then it grinded sideways for 8 months. Perhaps it only was able to consolidate at this level. It never really could get above it. And so instead it sat on it until the halving year itself. Like there's ways this could have played out. It didn't have to play out 100% like this, but I think it's so cool that it did, because it gives us a really nice view of like, oh, okay, this is how big boys really do view the market this way. Like, I'm not just being silly. This is 100% the way that things happen. Now, look what occurred the following year, especially right before the halving itself. We had COVID. So that's the COVID dump. And if you go across any asset, whether it's Tesla or gold or, you know, the indexes for the American stock markets, they all do a big swan dive to the downside. And then they all recover and go up for this bull run. So I think that you could treat this activity right here one of two ways. You can either not have much margin exposure leading into, you know, the halving year itself and know that there's probably going to be a lot of debate. You can just sit sidelined with cash and wait to try to capitalize on something like that. But the thing is, you don't always get things like that. When we go back to, you know, remember the way, let me make sure this is apples to apples here. Okay. So the big sell-off occurred right before the halving. The halving before that, look what happened. There was a big impulsive move the other way. So there was no swan dive where you got to buy the dip or whatever. This was a big impulsive move to the upside. In fact, it went from $400 all the way to $800. And I was there. I remember everyone was talking about like, oh, we're going to go now from 800 to $100,000. Like nobody really knew, right? We're going to go from this little point right here and we're just going to send it. But after the halving, it retraced at significantly, like 50%. And then it went on its way. So what I'm trying to say is we can't predict what a market's going to do. I think it's a lot smarter, especially coming into the halving, to either sit in non-margin positions but spot long, so you have spot Bitcoin exposure, or you're basically DCAing, and on the off chance that you get a sell-off like that, you take advantage of it. Hey, kudos to you. You did it. So do you plan to place a stop loss for this particular run? Yeah, in fact, I have it live right here. You can see it down here at the bottom. So I have a take profit at 33,000 and a stop loss at 29.2. So the reason I have that at 29.2 is this goes back to this particular level right here. Make it where you can actually tell what's what. All right, because as I mentioned earlier, the consolidation that we saw was right here. This is what I'm treating. Let's get rid of that. This is what I'm treating as the sign of strength. Okay. So if we look back at our schematic and we kind of, we pull our study material, we pull our textbook back up and we say, okay, we had this sign of strength right here, which is what I'm treating this as. Does price typically ever come back down and re-engage in that level? And the answer is no. Oftentimes, once we leave these reaccumulation trade ranges, we don't come up in there. Now, when I first entered the position, my stops were back in the trade range itself, because once again, you can't really predict what that's going to look like. So I didn't know if it would do one of these, consolidate a little bit more, what. But I did know kind of the takeaway is, hey, look, we don't want it to fall back below the creek. We don't want it to come back in the range. That's bad. So my stops were down in the range. Like this gave me plenty of room. But since the position, entered the position, stops right down here. As the position has moved into profit, I've moved that stop up to my entry. So maybe I get stop hunted at some point or whatever, but I'm just trying to be straight with you with like how I think through these. Like basically, I'm not going to give it all back. I'm not going to, I may give back the profit if it comes all the way back to my entry, but I'm not going to lose my position. I'm not going to wait for this to go underwater and this suddenly turns into some big ugly thing. Like I refuse to do that. And this is just a personal thing that I do. So I hope that answered your question. I like your shirt. I feel like I'm doing a magic eye. Oh, it is kind of weird. Wait, hold on. Sorry, I need a better shirt for stream. My bad. Jack, do you mind comparing April 2019 consolidation to the last 26 days? Seems like a scary fake out back then. Sure. April 2019. All right, so I am going to throw log on because it just keeps it clean. April. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Look at this. Look at this debate. Oh, man. So I guess what you're really asking is like, could what's happening now really be that? And I think that's a fair question. So let's look back at this and say, okay, would we have called this some sort of reaccumulation only for it to break down and blow us out? Well, let's see. All right, so a couple of things. Remember, a clean trade range looks like this. Some consolidation, another attempted breakup, some more consolidation, and then eventually it actually breaks up. But this is the key thing I want your eyes to be on. And let me change how this looks so that it stands apart here. It's the creek, the downtrend line. Where can I really build an argument for a creek? That's not a creek. You can't say that. Really what you have is a series of uptrends being broken, before it continues up. This is a different look. So I would not treat this period of time similar to this period of time. Basically, all the sellers are coming in strong, like in a stronger fashion here. Okay, and that's what gives you these kind of downtrend creeks. So again, market can do what it wants. It's not going to ask my permission, but I would not say that these two are the same. I would argue that they're very different, because one is full of and this is more like what we have today. I'll show you in just a second. I'll pull that up. In fact, you know what? I can do this, and it'll make it real easy for you guys to see. All right, so bars. What do I have up here? So it's apples to apples, 4 hours. So let's throw it on the 4-hour chart. Throw it back on Bitcoin. All right, so this is the time period that we're comparing. So we basically have trade range. And within the trade range, we have clear downtrend with several retests. We have a secondary downtrend with a breakout. And this breakout has led us to where we are. This time period was about 30 days. So from here to here was about 30 days. And as was this was about 30 days as well. So timing wise, they were effectively the same. But my argument here is like, I really don't see all this is worth something. And that's kind of like a missing component here. All right. Hope that answered your question. That was a good question, though. That was well thought out. Most people just troll me. That was actually like a good, well thought out question. All right. Let's see. Chat, anything else on Bitcoin specifically? If not, we're going to move on to a couple alts. I want a hot dog real bad. I love that. That actress is hilarious. I'm blanking on her name. She's funny to me. Okay. If no more questions on Bitcoin, I think we've covered it from top to bottom, left to right. Again, big love to Coin Vigilante. I feel really baller-ish. You guys can't even see it. I can't twist my arm like that. Wearing my shadow-styled Bitcoin watch. I love this thing. It looks so clean. Yeah, that's very nice. Been wearing that all day today. All right, whale wallets, bro. I'd love to look. I would love to know, but unfortunately, Glassnode's kicked me to the curb. They didn't give me a thing. They like cut my account. So let's look at dominance. Jeps, what'd you say? I had a question about long-term play on Bitcoin. What was your question on long-term play? Let me scroll up. Maybe I missed you. Sorry, dumb question. What's the plan for now till halving and a couple of months after? I want to be able to sell pre-halving and buy. Well, okay, so good question. And again, maybe you missed this part, which is completely fine. But this is my plan. Okay, this is my plan. That within this calendar year, price moves up past 33K, consolidates perhaps as high as 48. That's perfectly fine. Consolidates and comes all the way back to 24. So I want to close my positions up here as close to this 48 as I can. Listen, this will be in the face of every bull telling me I'm wrong, I'm stupid, I'm giving up profit. Just think of how all the flack I've gotten for being like, hey, now's a great time to buy, and here are my targets. People are like, oh, you're so stupid. It's going to be the same, but just yin yang the other way. Now the bulls are going to hate me. The bear jack memes come out, all that kind of stuff. But if things work, and again, big if, because who knows with these markets, nobody knows anything. But if things go as planned, then we're basically selling up here, north of 40-ish, wherever we get during this final little impulse that I expect. And we're rebuying at 25. So imagine buying at 25, selling at 50, and buying back at 25. You just doubled your position. You had one Bitcoin, you sold it at 50, now you have two because you're rebuying at 25. Less taxes, et cetera, et cetera. So that's pretty cool. After that, basically, I'm going to stay away from leverage until we're on the other side of the halving and I feel really comfortable with where we're moving. Also, After the halving is many times when the alts really start picking up. So between now and the halving, I want nothing to do with alts. Now, maybe you have like specific reasons. Hey, this coin has an announcement, whatever. Like, you know, something I don't know. That's fine. You do your thing, man. And I hope everything goes well. But my personal goal is to build as big a stack of Bitcoin as I can until about a year and a half after the halving, which is mid 2024. So that means Christmas of 2024 into sometime in 2025. Like, that's when I expect our actual bull run with a new all-time high to Bitcoin and all that. That's when that will occur, in my opinion. And that's where I'll look to take profit on like everything, on all the positions. So between now and then, I'm building a bag. And then at that time, I'll take my profit. All right, so let's look at Bitcoin dominance really quick, because I think a lot of people are really sleeping on this. In fact, I had good friends that I was talking to in Discord last night, like IRL friends, and they were like, hey, I'm buying a little bit of Ethereum and Sol and Litecoin and this and that, and I want your opinion. And I'm like, okay, but like on the lower time frame or what? And they're like, yeah, like for the next couple weeks. I was like, man, I've spent so much time trying to tell people that I don't think alts are the play. They're just not. Dominance has Bitcoin dominance. Let's go over that really quick, because, and then hopefully this will make a lot of sense. And then we'll look at some specific isolated charts like Ethereum on the Bitcoin pair and Litecoin on the Bitcoin pair, that kind of thing. But Bitcoin dominance is a way of saying, okay, in all of crypto, all the money in crypto, you know, you have all the money in a bowl. What percentage of the bowl is just Bitcoin? And then what percentage of the bowl is alts? So basically, if you have a downtrend, the alts are growing, like their portion of the bowl, their portion of the pie is growing larger, shrinking the Bitcoin section. And because the Bitcoin is shrinking, that's where you get this downtrend line, because this is a measure of like how big the Bitcoin piece of the pie is. So if the dollars coming into quote crypto is more in the alts, or entering faster than it's entering into Bitcoin, then you get these downtrends, and it's basically alt season. Like, this is when you get Sol going from $1 to $200 and Doge pumping and all that kind of stuff. Also, if you can make a case for like, hey, look, there's this level where it seems to reverse every time. Okay, I'll long Bitcoin, and then I'll long alts, and then I'll long Bitcoin, and I'll long alts. And that was actually a really profitable way of handling dominance. Well, here's what I'm getting at. And I've been pointing this out to anyone that will listen. There's this zone where every time we got up in here, we just V reversed. And that's why I have these little TP looking things. We V reversed out of this level every single time. But what happened here recently? While Bitcoin was printing this consolidation level, dominance was just drifting sideways in a very similar sort of channel. Comes down, runs the lows, and is now breaking up. So we didn't know the breakup was going to factually happen. We suspected it based on a number of reasons, all of which I laid out for probably 3 weeks. But this is implying like you should not be long. Like, if you have a limited amount of capital, that capital should be in Bitcoin and not in alts. Now, alt season will come one day. This is just the way crypto works. There's always a time for that kind of thing. There's a time where Doge is, people are talking about Doge to $1 and all that. But this is not that time. And that's just what I'm trying to like drive home. The point I'm trying to drive home here. So where do I think dominance will go? Well, I suspect we go back to my favorite level. The chat says not possible level, documented on 9/14/21, which is about 60% dominance. This makes a lot of sense to me. Historically speaking, this was a really interesting level. If I drag this out, you know, this goes back like all the way to 2018. This level got a lot of activity. And then more recently, this is the point where it broke down. So I like the 60% level. You know, that's where I would look to potentially close some Bitcoin longs and look for Litecoin or whatever. You know, pick your favorite alt du jour. Doesn't matter. But that's my perspective and what I like about it. All right, questions on dominance. And if not, we'll keep things moving. But I know the Bitcoin, I mean, the YouTube audience seems to have a little bit of a delay, it seems like. Chat, don't forget to smash the like button if you don't mind. What's your thought on coin? Is it worth holding? So I actually have coin longs, Dev. I have GBTC, Coin, MicroStrategy, Quad U, which is we don't want to talk about Quad U, RRGB, and a number of other things. Once we get there, it's all time. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so to drive this point home, look at what Ethereum on the Bitcoin pair is doing. Like, even the charts are telling you, hey guys, do not long this. This is not the time to be in Ethereum. Okay, so I had extended this out for a prior conversation, but let me put this back. Okay. This is like 8 months of consolidation, breaking out. Maybe you're horizontal maxi. Okay, well, it broke the horizontal. Maybe you're this diagonal maxi. Okay, broke your diagonal. And then no matter how you look at it, it came back and retested. So we have a market that offered support, turned resistance. This is yet again another chart telling you get out of Ethereum for Bitcoin. This is just like, forget the fact that I am admittedly a Bitcoin maxi. I am. Forget about that. If this was something, if this was the inverse, if like suddenly we had a chart like this, I'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna trade some Bitcoin for Ethereum because it's gonna outperform. It's gonna outperform Bitcoin in the short term. This is great. This is like, we come down, we have a little retest, off we go. But this is inverted. This is like fantasy wish land, right? Which I know it seems like Vitalik kind of lives in. But this is not something that you would want to be buying into. Now, could this develop into something that you would want to buy? Sure. Like there is the expectation is that it does something like this. But there is such a thing as like, oh, it actually consolidates, comes back, and oh, this was actually a big double bottom. But you can't know that with where we are right now. All you have to do is take the market for its word, not think it's trying to bluff you, and understand that this looks a heck of a lot like a bear flag or bearish consolidation or whatever you want to call it, with a continuation target further down, like maybe in this zone, which is like 0.055. Yeah, all this, whatever this chop is probably a likely target for where we're headed. Nice parabolic downtrend. Yeah, actually I was looking at that earlier, and you're exactly right. I like to throw it on a line chart to keep things clean, but you guys do you. Yeah, ugly. Understood. Bitcoin it is. That's just what it is. Let's look at Litecoin on the Bitcoin pair. Litecoin did something very interesting as well, where it consolidated for a very similar amount of time that Ethereum did. So this is Litecoin versus Bitcoin. Again, this is very similar to how Ethereum versus Bitcoin consolidated and broke down. Over here, we have Litecoin on the Bitcoin pair consolidating and breaking down. Didn't even get a retest, which is a shame. And this break is a nasty break, from the start of it all the way to the bottom, 33% down in a few weeks. Like, this is not a long period of time. These are daily candles. So that to that is what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. So that is pain. Once again, we have this conversation of like, okay, what are we looking at? Well, we had a big breakdown. It kind of just looks like sideways consolidation. Could this turn into something else? Absolutely, it could. At that time, it would be a very good. You're buying into strength at that time. If you're buying right now, you're kind of buying on a hope and prayer. You just don't know that it's going to rally. And if everything else is equal, like you have these different trend lines that are kind of saying one thing, and we're all hoping for another. If you're a Litecoin guy, there's like a number of downtrends that have broken. So I couldn't tell you that this is the time to buy. In fact, I think it's the time to just wait. Where's Charlie Lee? How could Charlie let this happen? Guys, Charlie he's a smart guy. Like, he knows what's going on. I bought some stuff from Charlie. Like, face to face. All right, This is one of the things I don't have in the safety deposit box at the bank right now. But this is something I bought from Charlie. Just kind of an interesting story. Quick little side note. All right, this is a 2013 Leilana coin with 10 Bitcoin in it. So basically there's a sticker on the back and you can peel that off, and there's a code, and it's like the account code to a wallet. And that wallet has 10 Litecoins in it right now. So this is cool. But why am I talking about this? Because when I bought this from Charlie Lee, do you know what he wanted for it? What our medium of exchange was? It wasn't Litecoin. He wanted Bitcoin. So I know he runs the Litecoin Foundation, and he does a good job with the development side of Litecoin. And believe me, I think Litecoin has a great use case. In fact, when I do giveaways and I send people money and stuff like that, it's almost always exclusively through Litecoin. But you guys need to understand that even the oldest of OGs, like Charlie Lee himself, he gets it. Like, he's not a fool. He's like, no. We're going to do this deal in Bitcoin. And you know what else he told me? He goes, hey, Jack, if you buy this from me, it was kind of a collection of things. This was just one of them. He said, if you buy this from me, you know you're going to give me a certain amount of Bitcoin, and then you're going to look back on that one day and kick yourself. He goes, you understand that, right? Like, if you're trying to profit, you should just buy the Bitcoin and hold that. Like, he's coaching me before a deal. And I always, since that time, I've respected the hell out of him because he's always been very straight. And the reason I own this, despite his kind of warnings, was because I said, look, I view life as more than just money. And I think stuff like this and having some collectibles like this that every now and then I can look at and like reflect on fond memories, that to me is worth more than, you know, maybe I made another 50 grand or whatever down the road. That's just my take. Yeah, it's like a relic. Exactly, Ollie. Yeah. How much Bitcoin was it? We did a big Bitcoin deal. It was like multifaceted. Maybe I can get the stuff from the deposit box one day and take some photos and then show y'all. But it was a lot of different things. And it ended up being, I want to say like 3 or 4 Bitcoin at the time when Bitcoin was $8,000, I think. So it's pretty funny. But what was funny is Charlie, as we got closer to the day we were making the deal, Charlie kept being like, hey, you still have the Bitcoin, right? Like, you still have, and it was because this whole conversation between him and me, you know, where we were teeing up this deal, we basically worked out the details of the deal back in here, but I couldn't meet him until up in here. And so I bought the Bitcoin for the deal, like the day and so he was checking in, like, he goes, hey, it's still, you know, we made a deal. It's still 3 or 4 Bitcoin. I was like, yeah, dude. So back in this kind of lower area, this is where I bought them because that's when we made kind of our gentleman's agreement through text. And then up here is where we actually consummated the deal, did the trade and stuff. So anyway, it's a good story, man. It was in New York, and then I had to fly home with all these like ultra valuable things. It was crazy. Anyway, more on that later. So let's get back to the charts. I've been very blessed with like what I've gone through and people I've come in contact with in this world. It's been awesome. And now, like, Charlie messaged me earlier, and he was like, hey, I hope you can make the cruise. And he was talking about the Litecoin cruise. And so, like, me and the wife all worked through some details, and I think I'm going to end up going. Like, well, it's looking promising. So, anyway, very cool. Wow. Yeah, sorry. There was a bit of a delay there. My bad. All right. Let's go over... I'm going to go over GBTC. GBTC. Oh, so clean. So clean. All right, so I think I have log on. Yeah, let's do regular. All right, GBTC consolidated from the 16th of March all the way till April 10th and finally broke out. Now, what is GBTC? GBTC is Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. This is a a pseudo, what do they call it? A ETF for Bitcoin. And this was kind of at the center of a lot of controversy, especially down here, where this was used as collateral. GBTC was used as collateral when several big shops blew up. So he's trying to sell you more coins on that cruise. Be careful. You're probably right, dude. So hold on. I'm supposed to, my mod's message, or my friend reminded me today. He said, you're supposed to periodically link to your YouTube video on your Twitter every so often. I was like, oh, okay. All right, done. So GBTC has been a type of trade that we've had our eye on for a while, for a number of reasons. First off, GBTC is a product that operates in a discount or a premium compared to the actual Bitcoin that the trust itself holds. See how this is named the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust? This trust actually holds Bitcoin, and then you and I buy and sell like basically the paper valuation of the company, even though it holds Bitcoin under that. So it was operating for the longest time at like a 50 to 60% discount to the Bitcoin it held, which is very silly. If that even somewhat rubber band snapped back, then you would actually outperform Bitcoin. Like, this was the theory. This was the thesis. So yeah, we've actually done that. If I look at us year to date, so starting in 2023, you'll see that GBTC at its peak, let's just say, is 129% up from the lows. And similarly, if we do a similar analysis on Bitcoin itself, even to its highest it's gotten, Bitcoin's only up barely 80. So GBTC has like 50 to 60% more outperformed Bitcoin, which is crazy, right? Because Bitcoin is like the top performing asset of the first quarter of 2023. Like, this was headline news, how Bitcoin outperformed everything. And now we found a thing that actually outperformed Bitcoin itself. So a couple targets that I think are worth watching is, number one, this R1, which, just like with Bitcoin, the R1 is what I'm watching. So you can use this on like multiple assets. And for this one, it's at $22. So at $22, that's still another 25% move. Remember, Bitcoin's only roughly 10% away from its R1. And here, this is like a 25% move to its R1. So very, very interesting. Also, remember, Bitcoin had this similar sort of consolidation that I was talking about. Like, hey, I think it'd be very interesting if we actually blow through anybody who shorted this. I think it'd be especially interesting if GBTC did something like that as well. And that extension target is way higher. It's $34. So to have any sort of like confidence in a trade like that, I would really need to see Bitcoin show a lot of strength above the R1. Like, I want Bitcoin to be the thing leading the way, not GBTC. So otherwise, I close everything at their respective R1s. So very interesting. Cruise is code word for just losing your crypto in the ocean, right? Yeah. Good comps. Good comps. Oh, that's funny. All right, what else? What else? Gold. Gold actually kind of looks like trash, though. Y'all notice this on the lower time frames? That's not what strength really looks like. So I'm wondering if gold does one of these. Remember, I was talking about how I don't want to see Bitcoin close back in the range. Like, that to me is a really scary thing. This is when I basically cut all positions. And that's what gold has already done. So there's a couple things that will like say, oh, okay, well, this is all actually fine. That is a close back above the range. And the best case scenario is actually breaking above this prior high. Otherwise, this has a big feel of like distribution, which is crazy. Like, who'd have thought gold would be in distribution right now? Coin. Question on coin came up earlier. Just a reminder that I think coin is one of the few that is in the process of going through true blue Wyckoff accumulation. Now, complete with a spring, some consolidation in the mid-range, which I think is what we're getting here. And then ultimately, we go on to have a what's known as a sign of strength, which will look something like this. So this is what I'm looking for to confirm that this took place. If you can confirm this took place, then you're basically looking at a 5 to 10x from this level. So we're talking about like $500 to $1,000 coin, like the dollar value at the Pico top, maybe 2024, 2025. They're pretty cool. All right, see you, Dreps. Breaking here fast. I hope that's intentional. See you, dude. Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm going to look at... Okay, so Osman, you asked to look at FTM earlier. I will look at that. I want to look at one other thing first, and then... two other things first, and then we'll look at that for you, bud. All right. First thing I want to go over is just to show how there's been this really... We're in the traditional markets now. This is the ES. There's a really nice inverted head and shoulders that just completed and we broke out from. This inverted head and shoulders has a measured move target of like 4280 and a fib extension target of about 4200. So I have this, we call this our target zone. We got to see what the market wants to do at that point. It could very easily reverse. It could very easily keep going. But I think it would be interesting to see the market continue moving up in the face of like kind of all this fear. And one of the reasons that I think that that's possible even is because of this 13-month downtrend where the market broke out, came back, retested, and has now been slowly but surely climbing its way after the retest. So I know there's a lot of scary things in the news, and y'all know me, I'm not a big news guy. So I think really there's a lot of negativity out there that serves to kind of debate you in the wrong direction. I think perhaps that's what's going on here. So if we get back up in here, maybe even break up, I could very easily see us continue to move going into 2024 to 2025. So what happens between now and 2024 is kind of anybody's guess. Just like Bitcoin, we're talking about Bitcoin going to 50,000 and then all the way back down to 25. I mean, what would the traditional markets be doing at that same time? I'm sure something every bit as squirrely. All right, so that was that. Look, as I said that, we literally put in a high of day. TA doesn't work. Red Robin, Burger Maxis. Oh, man. Look at how clean this accumulation range is. This is actually from May to March of the following year. This is really nice. If you'll remember, I actually put out a lot of content on this because we had this downtrend that broke. And after the break of the downtrend, there was like this sort of consolidation. Wait, hold on. There we go. This consolidation, falling wedge. So downtrend broke into this Wyckoff range, into a falling wedge, and the falling wedge is broken. This is the same thing we'd look for as distribution. Remember, we would look for a trade range to be formed, a rising wedge, some sort of breakdown, and then ultimately kind of gives it all back. This is the same idea. So there's a number of things, a number of levels that have caught my eye for this in particular. I think you should just draw like a very simple line and have it reaching about 20 to, $18 to $22 somewhere in there. Makes a lot of sense. And that's just like worst case. It could very easily blast through it. It could consolidate. Consolidating makes more sense to me. Just because markets just don't go up only all the time. I guess this one has before. But I think it would make a lot more sense to recognize that line, consolidate at it, and then blast through it. Something like that would be interesting. But anyway, in any event, I think that's very cool. All right, FTM. Phone ringing, sorry. All right, FTM on the dollar pair, and then the FTM on the Bitcoin pair. Let's take a look. Not very useful, that horizontal, so I'm going to delete this. This fell 95% high to low. Oh, you know what this looks like? Just in a vacuum. Doesn't this look kind of like a SOS leaving an accumulation range? Where are the pivots for this? Let's see. Yeah, I think you've got an easy argument to be made for this kind of $1.80, dollar to $1.80, target 1, target 2. So $1 to $2 is just kind of the easy way to say that. The thing is, these SOSs, which is like what occurs. Hold on, if you don't, you may not know what I'm talking about here. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. We just went over something else that had something very similar. Downtrend, sweaty downtrend of, 80 to 90%, check. Consolidation over a period of months, check. Downtrend break, check. Spring, check. Consolidation at the SOS in progress. This is what I think is happening. And then eventually we'll break up. And your first target will be $1. Your second target will be almost $2. That ain't bad. Just in 2023. Just in 2023. That's not, in 2024 or 2025. That's pretty good, man. Nice chart. All right, so let's look at FTM on the Bitcoin pair. Do we have any reason at all to be punting along versus Bitcoin? Like, should we be giving our Bitcoin away to punt along on FTM? There's something interesting I see here. So are these trends being respected? Not really. Like, this level is just kind of being chopped through. So I don't see anything useful there. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Is this diagonal being respected? Once again, not really. So let's just kind of delete that stuff and look at, okay, what is 2023 doing? Well, there's some pretty clear little downtrends that appear to be breaking. So, okay, we can start with that. Also, you can see how it goes from like a steep slope, less steep, less steep. So what you're actually seeing is the work of a parabola. So this could be a sort of rounded bottom that's in progress. We just haven't really seen it yet. We haven't seen it start to make its bullish move out. How would I trade this particularly? I would try to set some level where I'd say, okay, now I believe that this is there's so much debate that it's important to like kind of set a level like, okay, right here, I take it serious. The market's trying to help you, I think, with that point, because on the lower time frame, there seems to be this rounded top. And I bet you dollars to donuts that as soon as this breaks, it's going to be on to the upside. So it's nice to keep your eye on this kind of stuff every now and then. I'm in this trade too. Nice. Mrs. Nipple, always good to see you. We buying alts now? No. We're just analyzing. Bought a decent position at 45 cents. Thanks for the bag pump. Yeah, you bet, dude. That's why I'm here, right? That's why I'm here. You guys don't get you baited. No. Let them get you baited. Let them. It's good learning. Looks like this seems like a pretty decent breakout too. How's volume? Volume's kind of trash. All right, yeah, be careful. Tex is right. Don't get you baited here. But it's interesting. I think I've outlined it pretty good. All right, chat. Look, I got to go do some other stuff. I got to do some family stuff. And I am coaching little kids basketball today as well. So we're going to call it there. I hope you've enjoyed. We streamed for, how long did we stream? Like a little over an hour 15, hour 20. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to join our Discord. You can go to my link tree, which is linked below, and it's got everything. Be sure to follow me on YouTube, guys. I don't think I get near enough credit for what I do on YouTube. I'm just being straight. We put out a video 5 months ago. It has a total of like 500 views or something. But in this, we outlined kind of everything we went over today, right? And at the time, here's what Bitcoin looked like. We talked about, hey, look, a breakout should be taken very seriously. A breakout should be taken very seriously. This falling wedge has a particular target. It was 25,000. It has another target of 30,000. Earlier, I talked about like how pivots play into things and how that falling wedge will, eventually we'll use the pivots. We just couldn't at the time. We talked about the cloud, the Ichimoku cloud. We talked about the halving cycles and how things behave. So this is good content, but I don't know. I guess during bear markets, nobody cares, like as far as trending and stuff goes, like the algorithm, But anyway, thank y'all for the love. Love your work. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Ollie, good. Come join us, dude. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. It's cryptojacklive or at cryptojacklive. But that's where if I see something quickly, like say I see a particular altcoin that's breaking out or whatever, like that's where I'm going to put it first. And then I'll probably do my Discord second. And then we'll go over it on stream. So anyway, like I said, guys, I got to run. Thank you for all the love. And yeah, I think we'll call it there. Y'all have a good one. Peace. Bye.